SimWorld presents Around the Table with E and the Fat Man.
What's up, everybody? It's the B.O.B., and I'm here with my man E. How are you doing today?
Hey Bob, hope you're doing well on this Sunday. I'm doing great.
I am doing good. Doing a little bit of traveling. Had about a 14-hour drive from
Ooh, road trip.
from Friday into Saturday. I'm in Disney, so
Oh
the
boy, the Magic Kingdom.
I am, but the buck never stops. So we're still rolling with Around the
Oh,
Table with E and the Fat Man. And this is Around the Table with E and the Fat Man. That is E. I'm the Fat Man, and this is the podcast where we talk about whatever we want. So, knowing that I'm traveling, I apologize for any kind of technical difficulties or sound quality issues that we may have. It's not easy recording in a hotel, and it's wide open, and so I tried my best. But anyways,
well, I think you sound beautiful as always today,
oh,
Bob.
thanks, yeah, and your voice is beauty to my ears. So,
Sonorous, yes.
well, first episode of season 2. Figure let's kick this off with our biggest surprises and our biggest disappointments from opening weekend. E, what do you got for? Let's get our disappointments out of the way. What do you got
You
for
want to
me?
talk about you want to talk about disappointments first, and I should say, by the way, that look, there's still a few teams that haven't even gotten their first game
Yeah,
in yet.
yeah.
Run DMVs, for instance, on my radar. Like I want to see them. Lakeshore Drive too. Still haven't seen them play. But for the teams that have gone so far, I would have to say that so far the biggest disappointment for me, and I almost mean this like personally disappointing because I was looking forward to it so much, and that was OGs, the originators, just absolutely handling Beasts of the East. I thought that was going to be the marquee matchup of opening night, and Beast just came out and smacked them 70-48. And
So
if you want to talk
you
about
mean,
some.
just to correct you, the OGs came out and smacked the beasts.
Yes, yeah. Oh, sorry, I said that the other way around. Yes. The beasts got smacked. The OGs did the smacking. So I guess if we're talking about disappointment, it would have to be Beasts of the East so far. Now, I've already been on Discord, and of course, if you're listening to this show, you got to be on the SimWorld Discord. But I've already talked to Coach Assad Drayton, Beast coach, about this a little bit, and he makes the point, and I think it's 100% correct. First of all, Beasts, last year's champion, got drilled in their first game of season 1. Gulf Coast took care of them last year. That's a historic fact. That's true. So you do kind of have to factor that in. And secondly, it's the first game of the year, and coaches are still figuring their players out, and players are still figuring each other out, right? And look, I'm not worried about Beasts of the East in terms of what they're going to be like going forward, but definitely a very, very poor game for them to start the season. Tyree Moy, who's just 15 years old, came off the bench and kind of led the way for them with 12
Yeah.
points. Lucy Thomas at guard also had a decent night. Didn't shoot the ball well. Most of the team didn't, but had 12 points. But then, man, you look at some of the rest of these, we proven players we know have talent. Levin Cutler, 4 points, 4 boards, quiet night. DeMarco Graham, 4 points, 4 boards, same as Levin, nothing. JoJo Kearney, actually, he was fine. He did what he always does. 13 rebounds, just 2 points, blocked a couple shots, doesn't shoot the ball. That's fine. That's not your job, JoJo. That's fine. But Kasim Porter Jr., a lot of people's favorite point guard out there, was out there for pretty much the entire game and somehow just had a disaster of a performance, really. Shot the ball terribly, just scored 2 points, only picked up a couple of assists because his teammates weren't exactly getting it done either. Yeah, Beasts of the East, maybe this is their worst night of the season. And maybe it just happened to come on opening night. So it drew a little bit of extra attention for that reason. But I definitely expected more out of them. And, you used the word disappointment. You wanted to pick out a disappointment for each of us to start this season, Bob. And for me, I expected to see a battle between Beasts and OGs, and I didn't get it because Beasts kind of rolled over. But hey, these two teams are going to see each other more. That's going to happen again. So we'll see what happens later in the season. I still think These two teams are going to be battling at the top of that division for the division title when it's all over. But yeah, not the greatest to start things for Coach Drayton's bunch.
Yeah, I mean, it's that is, I would say, probably in all of SimWorld Prep, that is probably the biggest disappointment that we have seen in these first 2 days of games. However, for the sake of some parity, I'm going to pick a different one. Obviously, Bay Area, we expect so much from them whenever they have a player like Trey Hyman on their team. And while he didn't necessarily disappoint, he didn't necessarily do as much as I personally expected him to be. I expected Trey Turner to. Geez, Trey Turner. I'm thinking all the way back.
You're reminiscing.
I am. I expect Trey Hyman.
Oh boy, Bob.
To lead. It's too early, man.
It's way too early.
I expected Trey Hyman to lead SimWorld Prep in points per game, rebounds per game. I expected him to get his assist numbers up a little bit. And when I say a little bit, I mean, I expect him to be like a triple-double type player. But that's just because of the talent that he has. He grew 7 foot. He should be able to do it all.
Boy.
All of this to say, I'm not going to say that the biggest disappointment was Bay Area Breakers, even though it was disappointing. I'm going to go with Gotham 5 because Coach Mula wanted to talk up his team so much. People want to say it's confidence. I think there's a difference between confidence and cocky. And I don't like cocky, especially when you can't back it up. So to me, the biggest
in their first game.
Yeah. So I'd say for me, probably the biggest disappointment is Gotham 5 because, again, he talked up the game, and again, you can say, oh, we're going to win, everybody's blah, 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 we're going to beat everybody, and going to beat everybody by 20 points, 40 points, whatever it was, we're going to win the championship, kind of like Coach Heesh. Came in, talked a big game, and didn't do anything. So, for me, Gotham 5 is definitely up there, and that's not to say that there's not going to be some bright spots for Gotham 5 this season, but I do think that this is going to be the norm for Gotham 5. I mean, I expect that Kel McKnight is going to really come on later in the season. Obviously, he's young. He's a little newer. I did not expect Keshawn Coulson to be the leader in points for them at all. And I believe that his, what is it, efficiency? I can't remember if it's the efficiency or not. He's leading the league in efficiency in SimWorld Prep, and that was just not a name that I expected at all. He would have probably been the bottom of the bucket, even on Gotham 5, for me to say he's going to be the most efficient player in Gotham 5, let alone SimWorld Prep. So,
yep, fair enough.
But I do expect, again, with players like Kel McKnight, you got Majer Williams, who is an elite shooter. And then you have Muggan Williams. He could be a top 10 big in SimWorld Prep. I mean, the talent's there. They just came out flat. And I think that is a combination of a lot of young on that team and also a coach who talks a big game out in the media and gets his players hyped up and they just expect it. And they got smacked in the mouth. I think they needed this. I think they needed this loss. But again, my predictions for before the season started, I might start leaning towards putting them into that bottom of the bucket with the North in that Founders region.
Yeah, well, I can't critique that too much based upon what we saw the other night, Bob. Yeah, Gotham was a team that I just didn't know exactly how to feel about going into the season, and certainly after one game, the arrow is pointing down, at least for me. So no, I think that's a good disappointment to throw out there. Hey, you want to just keep on a roll? So flip it over to the positive side. Tell you what gave you a smile that you maybe didn't see coming so much with these opening games.
Well, I'm gonna make them short, but I'm gonna throw in a couple because we've both mentioned some that I thought about. You brought up Tyree Moy. I did not expect him to be a leader for Beasts of the East because of some of the talent that they have on that team. but he showed a lot of flashes in the offseason in pickup games. In scrimmages, he showed a lot. And just the fact that he was able to go out there and lead Beasts of the East, that was a big surprise to me. And it's a positive for them, especially whenever they do have all that talent. They have Levin Cutler, they have JoJo Kearney. When you have somebody else stepping up that you don't expect to step up, that's always a big positive. So I do think for Beasts of the East, despite that loss, that Moy has showed that they're deep. They're a deep team. They just they ran into an OG's team that was running on all cylinders, and those cylinders were firing. Keshawn Colson, again, another one. I mean, just being the most efficient player in SimWorld Prep in the first. Again, this is one game, so I fully expect Colson to come back down to earth soon and quickly. But I will say the one that really stuck out to me was Kayvon Jackson. I'm a big Kayvon Jackson fan, and the fact that he was able to put up 31 points for Cascadia, I didn't know what to expect from him this season. I did expect that he would show that he is a star, and he wasn't a star because of other people. I wasn't necessarily expecting him to put up 31 points in the first game of the year, but hey, you know what? I think that he is a player who has the ability to put himself in the player of the year conversation. We always look at the players, the biggest players, the most athletic players. That's why the Trey Hymans is always up there. Cooper Flags, got players like Dylan Hart. Like, they're going to just be in the conversation. The other players are going to have to work at it. And Kayvon Jackson has shown me so far after one single game that his name is going to get thrown into that very early. And I mean, the dunk god never disappoints, and I'm hoping this is just the start of a bright future once he hops on out of SimWorld Prep and heads over to SimWorld U. I hope that he can continue this up so that we can talk about him in a positive note at the end of the season when we give out our awards.
Yeah, well, he moved across, infamously moved across that Pacific Northwest rivalry, switch sides. But it looks like it's working out well for him and for Cascadia so far. They definitely impressed me coming out with a victory in that opening game. I'll go ahead and throw out my sort of positive surprise from the opening matchups, and another team victory in their opening match, and Rocky Mountain Monsters. What I didn't see coming at all was the backcourt combination of Dink Pate and also Bandier Thunda. Two 16-year-olds. Knew they had talent. Two names you definitely knew about going into the start of the season, but really impressed me. Dink Pate, 29 points, exploded, but also contributed 4 assists, just 1 turnover, had a steal, picked up some rebounds, shot the ball well, hit a 3. I mean, just came and balled out. And if it hadn't been for his explosion, the thing you might have noticed was Thunda, who came off the bench just 17 minutes, but scored 16 points. Also shot the ball well, and then contributed some rebounds and assists. So I was really impressed with those two, especially considering Rocky Mountain is not a deep team in guards. How they played right out of the gate was definitely going to be a big factor for the Monsters this season. They do return Zane Davis, but he's sort of more of a three-point sharpshooter specialist, although he didn't hit any in their opening win. Davis only had 4 points, wasn't a huge factor, which was also kind of the truth for some of the other bigger names on Rocky Mountain Monsters. Daquan McDougal actually led the team in assists and blocked some shots too, but just 2 points for him, 7 rebounds. And then, of course, they also lost Cam Astro. And, as big as Astro is, he's kind of listed as a wing, listed as a forward, but he's got guard-like skills, and I thought he was going to be part of their guard solution, along with Thunda and Pate and Davis this year. But obviously that's not going to be the case. They're going to be looking to replace him, and I assume probably bring a guard in, but maybe, I don't know, maybe Coach Robinson isn't as panicked about guard play anymore after what he saw on opening nights, because those two youngsters really came through. Rocky Mountain, I want to see some more. Just like with Beasts of the East, it's just one game, and I don't want to completely overreact to it. But if you look at them on paper, You got McDougal and Big Devontae Schindler holding things down in the paint. Their forwards are as good as probably anybody at this level in SimWorld, and Justin Bell and Lucas Banks both scored in double digits, both had decent games in that opener. But yeah, the Monsters really were led to victory by Thunda and Pate, and if they can maybe add one more piece to this team, which they can with Astro's spot, he's done for the year with that injury. If they can bring in somebody good, I might start to think about the Rocky Mountain Monsters as a true race to one contender. Like I said, I want to see a few more games, but you impressed me like this a couple more times, and you shot up my own personal rankings. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, you always expect. I expect someone like Justin Bell to really be the name that we talk about when we talk about Rocky Mountain.
Yeah, the
but
leader.
yeah, he's that leader. But sometimes if they're winning games and his name isn't the one that we're talking about, you got to look at them being a deep team. And I expect Bell to really come out, obviously, as the season comes on, or as the season goes on. But yeah, I mean, what Pate and Thunder were able to do as young guys coming in, look out for Rocky Mountain if they're able to hold it together. The one thing that they didn't have last season was somebody who I would say that's going to be their leading scorer this tonight or every night. They never had that. They were a hot hand kind of team. Whoever gets it going, or they just all really, I think for the majority of the season last season, I think that they had 5 or 6 players in double digits. So there was never that guy. And if one of those guys can turn into this guy, I mean, obviously Think Pate is 29 points.
Oh, yeah.
Who expected to say Dink Pate at this point in the season, even, again, I know we're only 2 days in and not all the teams have played, but did anybody think that Dink Pate would even be in the top 20 of points scored? I don't even know if you
did not.
If you would have said, if this was the only game that played all in the first 2 nights, if there was one game only, and you took all 20 of those players, I would probably have had Dink Pate in the bottom between 15 and 20 in points scored. So
and what he's going to produce. Yeah.
But yeah.
This is why they play the games on the court. Guys emerge, guys fall back, teams surge, and contenders fall out of the picture. A lot of way to go before we can start taking those kind of comments seriously, but a lot of good opening action and some intrigue in this league already.
Absolutely. Well, E, I appreciate you always. Is there any final words that you want to say to the people?
I'm just excited for the rest of these teams got to play. Like I mentioned, Run DMV, still hasn't played yet. Southeast Select, the new Trey Turnerless Southeast Select. Strap in. This is how it's going to be.
Absolutely. You're not following SimWorld TV on YouTube, not hitting that bell button or anything like that, I don't think me and E know what you're doing. So make sure you hit that hit the bell. Make sure you're subscribed. SimWorld 4K on TikTok, Twitter, AIM, ICQ. I'm just kidding. Those are old. So the young guys aren't going to know what I'm talking about. But hey, we appreciate you.
No.
We appreciate you guys as always, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend.
See you, folks. You're back on the road, Bob.